Hello and welcome to another episode of Logical Optimism. Joining me here today and joining me in Noogie here today is RaizQT and ZIGGYD Live. It is fairly, I think most of us just woke up, but we are here to talk about yesterday's race. Thank you all for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
How's everyone?
Good, just woke up.
Same.
Everybody just woke up for sure.
Except Ziggy. Well, he had a nap, I think.
Nice intro.
It's still the same day as the race for me, but I did have a nap because it was like 4:30. No, it was like 3:45 I woke up at to do the race. So, yeah, I had a nap. I've also slept.
And there are some issues with the race VOD at the moment. It is turned on the channel, but for some reason it never started saving the VOD. So we've reached out to Twitch to try to recover the VOD for that. But obviously all the racers were streaming, so you can watch it through that. And Fami93 has was sort of rebroadcasting it and talking about it in French. So you can sort of get it there as well. But that is unfortunate. It was great. There was 11 people that finished.
Nice.
It was very, very exciting. I wasn't expecting it to be so close. Like, obviously, for those of you who weren't watching the race and don't know what it was about, it was an Exile race, and it was a qualifier to be flown out to Exilecon and compete in the race there. So the first prize was the golden ticket, which is flights and accommodation for Exilecon and a golden race entry ticket. And second prize is the same, just without the golden race entry ticket. And then there's a lot of other prizes as well. Were you guys surprised about the race and how it went?
I was not expecting it to be as deadly as it was. Although Rise was kind of saying that like 4 people died out Ziri, and it was almost right. But just people dying everywhere, like to packs as well. Lots of people running into packs and getting killed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was worried. It was like, oh, we're gonna get a top 10. It's like eventually someone will cap out the top 10, but so many people getting absolutely murdered.
Yeah, I don't think anyone died to Ziri, right?
Not herself, no.
Possibly. I mean, not that we know of, right?
Yeah.
It could have been.
Yeah,
people.
that's true. That's true. There was one of the. I think he was. Not sure, but he. There was another guy that died to Trio. Got one shot by the rain. A couple of people died.
Apparently, mods did.
Oh, damn.
Gucci died to the trio too. I thought you were talking about Ziri specifically. Because people died to the trio.
She is really scary.
Yeah, I was talking about it series specifically. We can see the rankings here as well. So it's Ty, which is already qualified, so he can't win the first prize. Sadly, he gets bumped down to third prize. But that means that both Fireblar and Steel Mage gets bumped up. So Fireblar gets the golden ticket, Steel Mage gets the second one. And then we have Sushiki. How do you pronounce that? Sushi Hookah?
I think so.
Apparently it's Finnish, so I'm sure you've got
Torille with the fourth one. Carve with the fifth. Fikar sixth. Thulfos seventh.
Thulfos is better. What?
Yeah. Kosopi 8th. Tower Bra on 9th. And we have Jamie on 10th. And we have this dude 11th.
Oh. Look at the level gap as well there.
Yeah.
You see the levels go up as like people that took like ended up farming for longer or were a bit less confident with it. There was like a big difference there. 64
as well.
Yeah.
And like
it also does in snapshot, so somebody kept playing after the event. I think Tower Bra kept playing, then he kept racking up those levels.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Look at these two kills as well. Thulfos and Crispy 6 seconds apart. So close.
They had their own little battle there. That was pretty awesome. It was really cool to see Waggle and Steel Mage's finishes, especially securing those. Well, Steel Mage getting the flights and accommodation, everything over, and him popping off when he finished. He was so excited. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Waggle securing the win and getting the second place win after tie, which we just call the win, right? At this point, securing that golden ticket.
So both the two first two people that entered at Ziri died, right?
Yes, we have 3 of the 4. wasn't it Rise that died to Aziri?
3 people died. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that we
can't
saw at the
quite
start.
recall.
Who
It was
ended up
Gucci,
dying?
it was Tai Tai Killer, and someone else. Leaf never made it. I think. There's one more person.
There was a either Korean or Chinese dude that died to the trial as well. So like lots of people died in the Apex.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
I was surprised more people didn't die on the way, to be honest. I think everybody was kind of trying to play it safe, expecting everybody else to die. But
Yeah.
then they ended up falling either way.
we can take a quick look at one of the deaths here.
Very scary.
Tai Tai Killer's death.
Oh,
Oh no.
no.
No,
Why
what?
you got this?
Oh, this is scary.
Why would you
Oh, that's a
show?
bad portal. That's
the
a bad
literal
portal.
worst one
He
you could have
logs.
picked, this. Oh, my God.
He can't
I'm
log
gonna
in.
cry.
He can't log in.
Yeah.
Don't tell
I'm
me.
fucking crying.
That is
I can
something
pinpoint the
we
exact moment that his heart shatters.
that is something we definitely want fixed, and the TGD have said that they do want to work on hopefully something that they make a priority when we see deaths like this in competitive events. So,
Yeah,
that's
was,
why I wanted to show that.
Remember the race where Rise and I were like neck and neck? That happened as well to me. Exactly. Good
yeah,
times.
That sucks. That sucks. No, it's for those of you who don't know, what happens when you die or you disconnect from a packet loss is that the game keeps you in for 6 seconds. So yeah, any sort of packet loss on your connection can kill you. I think, Rice, this happens a lot to you, right?
Not as much anymore. I've made the conscious decision to just stop logging out after it's happened continuously for a very long time. So now, I don't know, over the course of like the 100 race, although I've been finishing early lately, I'll tend to not log out, like maybe once or twice, and even then, yeah, I'll typically get it. So
Yeah.
I try and avoid it.
Karatha as well has been having a lot of connection issues. I think Gucci, I think he's the person I know that seems to have like the most like stable logouts, where you can see him log out on like 3 life and he's always instantly out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Apparently Baylor says he's fixed his problem kind of from our side. But he's
Oh.
gonna explain later. That sounds interesting.
Interesting.
But yeah, no,
I have like a few years ago, every time I would log out or log out, it would be like a 50-50. I would get the packet loss. Now it's way more consistent, so I don't know if it's something on my end or if it's something on
Playing heroes.
GGG's end.
we can look at some other like top racer deaths as well. Here we have a racer from New Zealand. Let's see how he died.
Go down.
There's
Look at
only
the
one
wild
that could
oversoul
be.
Fight for Quinn, opting for the full face tank strategy.
This is a
Eats all
classic
3
death
lightnings.
too.
Goes into a second
So
lightning
good.
phase. Mistimes the movements. Gets hit by both. Was already shocked, of course.
Oh, he was
His
so
initial hits.
confidently
He was
tanking
well and
the
truly
lasers.
tanking enough
Did
to
not
handle his first
expect
3,
the
but
double
extra
laser
2
back to
was
back.
just not
But this
enough.
is understandable. Like, think about it. You have your buffs displayed in the top left, right? If you're a new player, you just see that buff and you keep collecting them, right? You keep refreshing that duration. That's exactly what Quinn went for. I think that's reasonable.
You're
think
saying the debuffs shouldn't be alongside of the buffs in the same collection there?
It's more shots at Quinn, but yeah, I guess that's the point too.
I think it's really cool to see so many people that don't normally race to like join and try. Like Datmods did really well, and Quinn tried as well, and like it's cool to see that more and more people are getting interested in it. But my favorite comment was somebody said, "How disappointing! If Quinn wins, he would just get directions for a bicycle ride."
Congrats to Mods, by the way, for winning their rivalry race that they were having. They were both playing melee and duking it out, and Mods went on to get 2 Adziri. Didn't end up, I think, apparently died on Adziri, as people
Yeah.
were saying. But I think that counts him as the winner
Yes.
between those two. The rivalry
So
grows.
just getting his damage upgrade. Probably
Yeah, there were a lot of good deaths. We can watch another here by Gazzy as well.
Ooh, never seen
I
that
don't
one.
think I've seen this.
feeling
Yeah.
pretty good right now with that damage
Oh, wow.
upgrade. Goes
Oh, no, we did
straight into
watch
that
it.
pack and does
I remember.
that
He
damage
slams
upgrade.
the
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Goes feeling pretty
No
good right now with that
slams,
damage
yeah.
I
upgrade.
remember the slam specifically. Yeah.
I don't know if we have the Garatha death, but we did have a similar death from Garatha.
Yeah, we had a lot of deaths that looked very similar to that. Kind of in similarish areas, kind of like into a melee pack and getting axed by like 5 of them attacking at once.
Yeah.
So actually quite a few people kind of, it's ultimately that mistake is like a bit of bad luck, but also bad positioning ultimately. It can't be avoided sometimes because you're like flame dashing to the edge of the screen, you just end up in the pack. But ultimately, if you end up kind of like right in the pack there and then trigger all of their attacks at the same time, that's definitely something that takes out a lot of people, as we saw in this race. So,
yeah,
it's a tricky one, but that's what comes out of people kind of like trying to go as fast as possible. Ultimately, I think.
Yeah, like, look at this one. It's absolutely brutal. He was on a crazy pace.
Notice what he's doing. Notice his inventory. He's running one of the scariest areas, and he decides to cover like half his screen, so he can't see where he's going.
Trying to
That's true.
I mean,
cut as many seconds as possible.
Yeah, I know.
Terrans pretty much fell the same way. Just like getting insta-smashed. Powerful crits too.
Yeah. That is crazy.
One of them have power charges, the other ones have powerful crits. Like you're getting credit there. Sure.
So how was it casting the race? Did you guys enjoy it?
Yeah, this was one of my favorites, maybe in a way, because I think like the length of it is really good, and probably of all the race formats, this has the best finish in terms of it having like a nice capstone and exciting boss fight. Because like people have Kitava pretty solved at this point. Occasionally there's a mishap, but ultimately it's not like a super exciting finish.
Yeah.
Level 80 races those sorts of like XP races kind of just peter out towards the end and lose their thrill right at the end.
Yeah.
But a race like this, you got this zone, like a larger zone with a lot of nasty mobs in it. 3 boss battles, 2 of which can be fairly dangerous. So it's probably one of the most exciting finishes we could have. I think the only one that will kind of be closest, I think, is Zara races can be pretty exciting too in terms of the finish. Those work well. So this and Azara, I think, work really well as like a finishing point. And yeah, not maybe enough of the race formats have that exciting finishing point, which I think is kind of a big deal. Obviously, there's a bit of an RNG issue with this one in particular. Could be solved with GGG's help.
Yeah, I think all we would need, I think none of the other fragments are needed. I think just like not a full set, but getting a midnight. Because it's pretty cool that you have to do the side areas and stuff. It makes like a pretty big refreshing change. But yeah, that would be huge to get the midnight.
Anytime anybody's talking about the midnight, I'm just thinking of Waggle and his noon struggles. It's like nobody understands.
Yeah, no, you'll give Waggle a midnight at the start of the race, and he still won't get the noon for ages. If you didn't see his practice run, he had 12 midnights before he got a noon, and one of those was a double midnight drop from the receptacle. The receptacle dropped 2 midnights. It was ridiculous.
That's crazy.
And in the race also, he didn't have a noon as well, so he was definitely getting flashbacks. It didn't last that long, but those good 5 minutes was quite the scare, I think, for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest terror for me, I was worried that something that happened to Tarabra was going to happen to a lot of people. That we'd see people killing Kitava and then like, okay, now what? And then just like struggling for midnights. But obviously a lot of people got midnights very quickly.
Yeah, it could have been multiple people having the same issue, but ultimately it was only like kind of one person in the top 10 that really had it be pretty bad, and that was Talbra. Whereas everyone else got him pretty quick, so the focal points of the race didn't have that be a major issue. So it wasn't really the deciding factor, I don't think. I think deaths were the deciding factor for the most part.
Yeah.
Not the RNG, which is great. So a potentially RNG heavy race, and certainly if you ran this race several times, you'd get, at least one of them would be like someone would be 20 minutes ahead, and then it would end up 20 minutes behind because of bad RNG, and then you'd be like, it's kind of a bummer. But in this case, that wasn't really.
I definitely feel like we got a bit lucky there. Yeah, I agree. But it was nice with like, it was a refreshing change, and I think so. When I first thought of like doing this, I thought it would take somewhere like 6 to 8 hours. I was like, it's Yuri. I mean, we have so little damage early, so I didn't think it would go that fast. I just thought we would have damage struggles, but then after a few people started practicing, I was like, never mind. This is like 3 or 4 hours. It was like perfect time, I think, for a race.
Yeah, that's good. I quite like that. yeah, I'd be happy to, see this race, and I'd really enjoy casting this race again, especially if we did end up getting like a way to get the fragments ahead of time to mitigate that risk of it kind of going askew and the race being kind of ruined. So yeah, that's potential good format.
Something like Legion being enabled as well would help with the fragments.
Ooh.
Also
It's a
would help
risky
with deaths.
Yeah, Legion is super iffy. But that's a cool thing to have in races when there's like high risk, high reward.
That's why the end is so good with the series as well.
Yeah.
Right? If you blow past it.
Yeah,
Take
that
big
was
risks.
that was my favorite part. I was clenching so hard, not so much on the boss fights, but well, them too,
Getting
but
there.
especially on the trash. When watching people wait for the turrets to start firing, just like boom, and I was like, oh, that was so clench.
Yeah, people were getting pretty lucky with that overall, I'd say. I don't think, well, other than Tai Tai, but I wouldn't really count that as an actual rip. I don't think we've seen a trash rip, and I was kind of betting that the majority of people are going to fall on that. So,
Yeah, I
like
think
right there in the prediction.
most people died to trio, right?
Probably
from the
in
looks
that
of it.
zone. Maybe, I don't know. It was like one to the trio that we saw a clip of, one to Adsiri for mods, and then one to the trash. But I thought there was more. I don't know what the other. I can't remember what the other kill was.
So at least
Maybe it was
two,
trio.
maybe three to trio.
Yeah, it might have been to the trio.
I don't think anyone died to Vols.
No, not really.
You don't die to Vols. Although Tai Tai got pretty close when
I know he tried.
you heard out.
It was a rough Vols fight for Tai Tai, actually. A scary one. Kind of didn't go so well there. Quinn died to Vol. Singular Vol. True.
Oh, yeah.
the one true Vol.
Vol over Soul. I was very surprised actually with how much more damage Steelmage had than anyone else. Like watching the Vols go down for him, I was like, wow, where's all this damage coming from?
Did he do anything special compared to any other?
No, I think that was the thing. Like, people were trying to do the fight, correctly. You bring one down low, do the other one, then try and bring them down at the same time. I think it was Steelmage that was just like brought the one full 100 to 0, the other one's at 100 health, and I'm like, oh shit, what's he doing? And then he just insta kills the other one. And it's fine. So he just out damaged the mechanics, which is impressive. He certainly had a lot of damage.
I mean, yeah. I think he had he didn't even have that good weapons. I was expecting him to have some crazy stuff, but well, he had an 80 spell damage one actually. That is pretty beefy. That is pretty beefy.
I don't know if that would push him so far ahead of the other people. He definitely did something. It's kind of like Waggle's Act 2 boss killing, playing a shadow, doesn't even have a banner, and he's just like popping a boss instantly. Everybody else capable of doing it with a banner. It's really crazy to watch.
That's true.
It's tricky to like execute properly, to like hit the right one.
Something I really liked as well that I want to talk about is look at the ascendancies for the race. Elementalist, Saboteur, Inquisitor, Occultist, Inquisitor, Saboteur, Necromancer. Like, it's so many different ascendancies. Top 4 are all different. And they're all, like, fairly close to each other.
Yeah. That ended up a bit more varied than I thought.
The Occultist pick is very interesting. Apparently he was playing Vortex, which is extra spicy.
Yeah.
That's a bit spicy. I like them.
He's not that far behind the other players, honestly. I would have expected a worse time.
Yeah.
The Elementalist pick was interesting too from Tai because nobody else was doing it. And you do have to do that Scion Mule, but then you have access to a lightning trap, so you don't have to mess around with that. But still, that was a much better time than I thought. And in general, Elementalist is so much squishier than something like an Inquisitor, and yet he pulled through. The damage was just enough.
I mean, the damage in Elementalist is insane. And he's been going Elementalist on like everything since has he gone Elementalist in every race so far?
Yeah, I think so.
Because the Lightning Spire is just insane on Elementalist. Because no matter what of the two rolls you hit, you either get the overlapping AoE or the big damage boost. It's just really, really strong.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's not a great, like, 4-point ascendancy. But, yeah. 2 points is insane.
Wait, 4 points is good too. What do you mean?
On element
get
list?
Yeah,
Why?
Yeah.
you get the pen.
Pen's really strong.
No, that's you take that as 2 point, don't you?
What?
Oh, so
For
he's,
racing.
okay. He's talking for two, like ascending twice,
Yeah.
getting 2 points.
Yeah.
But you get 4 points.
Okay, right.
So Rise is talking
I
about
mean,
4 points.
I'm talking
You're
about Crow Lab. I'm
ascending
talking about
twice.
like Uber Lab ascending isn't great on element list anymore, but
Yeah,
Crow Lab
yeah.
still is.
Oh, okay. Right, that makes sense.
But yeah, no, I'm surprised. Like, I wasn't expecting element list to be rank 1. But yeah, it's cool to see that it's so varied. And night, no melee anywhere.
Oh, I
melee.
wonder, do we know what Leaf was playing? I wonder if he was Elementalist as well. That would have been pretty cool. But I think he was Inquisitor. People were reporting that Ty was the only Elementalist that they saw around the top. Because, like, it's kind of
That's
riskier,
interesting.
right, in that way. But
Yeah.
you do more damage. But since they were both already qualified, maybe they yellowed it. But I don't know. Ty was talking about how, yet again, he was kind of going slow. He just got lucky, you know?
He always says
Consistently
that, though.
lucky.
You never really know what he's pulling out of his hat for these races. Could be
It's-
planning something big every time.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fun at Exilecon because then you'll be able to see everyone as well. Obviously, right now we can't really see what Ty is doing because he lags really hard when streaming. So it's gonna
Yeah,
be cool
no
to
more
see.
hiding for Ty. He'll be in the public eye. We'll get to see everything in all of its dirty details.
And they haven't told us anything about the race, right?
Well, it was public info because I was asked to ask about it. So originally, due to scheduling constraints, I was saying we might need like only an hour slot for race. Might be the only thing that's available. But we had some back and forth, and myself and other people really pushed for it. So we were able to get that up to at least an Act 5 Katava kill. So it's looking like that's likely, though. Not everything's not 100% locked in. There'll probably be an announcement sometime soonish, I imagine. Probably pretty soon.
Cool.
So yeah, it looks like we'll at least be getting that, which I think is good because that's a bit better of a finish than just doing like a 1 hour XP race or something like that. The other thing that could have been good is maybe like a Zaro kill.
Zaro kill,
fun,
yeah.
possibly.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, but like we could, if people think that'll be more exciting, we could always like let Bex know that, because that's basically what I've just been doing is like asking people, and I've kind of just been liaising between her and some of the other races and stuff in Camel's channel, trying to find out what
I
people
think Hisaro is more exciting because you do have the 3 fights. You're usually super under leveled.
Yeah.
When we've seen it in the past, we've had people. We had a softcore version and people kept dying and having to redo, and you got a penalty. And yeah, I think the Hisaro races are crazy good.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it
both
could
are
be
good though. Because
Yeah.
the Act 5 has Innocence into Kitava, which are both like insane fights.
What do you?
They're
I
all-
guess think about it in terms of the context of this is the grand final of like a year plus, honestly, because we've never had one of these before. A year plus of Path of Exile race practice and races and qualifiers and all that sort of stuff. What shows people racing the best? So like audiences, and also shows these guys as pure racing talent.
I think
What do you
Act
guys
5
think in
was-
that context? You think Act 5 is like the better like race, more authentic sort of something?
Yes.
It's less
Because
exciting, but
the areas you have to go through are much more dangerous. I mean, there's the Zara, but I think Zara has pretty much been figured out right now to cheese him, to make him not really. It all depends on the actual role on Zara. It can be a real bomber if he's like maze and nothing, and everyone is just kind of like doing small circles and nothing ever hits them. So that can very well
Good, you just need
happen.
to force it to be like swords with nasty mods.
Yeah. So it's like it's all down to,
I feel like
what
they're
kind of roles
both
you get.
super figured out though. And you mentioned Innocence being scary, but Innocence you just face
Yeah.
him because you can count down the like summons he does every time he does 10
yeah,
summons.
that's true.
So it's always just a one shot.
wow. I hope
Yeah.
Havoc isn't watching this. He's gonna cry.
Oh.
He's been ripping to Innocence.
It's just the place you normally see the most deaths, I feel like nowadays is Act 5. Like on that lead up. And just because it's so dangerous, the whole zone.
Either race should be fine because they would stop leveling so early and they would be really under-leveled in both.
Yeah, and that'll help with the finish, I think. Also, because it's 4 players, I believe. 4 qualifiers, 4 players. It has to be a softcore race, basically. Yeah. But we were talking about having like a penalty, like a death penalty. So the character either has to like stand up from the ground like you do when you first start, which I thought was kind of a cool idea, or have like a 10-second lockout before you can start playing again. 20 seconds or something like that as like a penalty. So that's a good way, because that's still a pretty hefty penalty when we've had a lot of races with 20 seconds difference in the finish.
Yeah. It's gonna be like
that kind of isn't that kind of better for Zaro then? Because like I definitely think that Act 5 would show more skill, but if it would make for a better show for it to be Zaro, just because these guys are going to be doing it with like 400 HP at most. Yep. And that's not a lot. There's a lot of mistakes you can make, and if you're leveling up and you are allowed to die, and the penalty, it can be something ridiculous like 2 minutes or even 1 minute, I think would be too much. So at most it would be something like 30 seconds, which, I don't think the audience would really feel, but if you get kicked out of the lab,
that's big. That's true.
That's pretty painful.
Yeah.
So you can have to switch up your strategy.
That could make the race less close in the end, like the labyrinth then, for a final. Whereas a Katava race with just 10-20 second penalty or something is much likely to be closer. Like someone's a little bit ahead, they're in the Katava fight, someone else is just getting to the Katava fight, and then they go down, and it's like, oh my god, they've got a chance, I can get in there. So and the other guy's like sitting there, like, I can't move yet, they're starting the Katava fight, getting the face done. Could be good.
At least the good thing is that I think both would be really good. Like there's not one that is like crazy better than the other. So should be a really, really good viewing either way.
Yeah, ultimately, based on kind of chatting with people in Camel's Discord, I was like, went with the recommendation to Bex that the Act 5 Katava is good. I'm glad that we're able to push for that and expand out the time slot a bit, because that's like, what, 2 hours?
The whole event, probably. I mean, people are going to finish up around like an hour 20, most likely, but...
okay.
We need to get that world famous Thai interview after he claims first again.
It's gonna be exciting. I'm excited for Exilecon.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. One more qualifier to go. Who will get in?
Yeah, I wonder what the qualifier is gonna be. Maybe they'll just do like, if it's gonna be Act 5 Katava race in the final, then maybe just Act 5 Katava race qualifier.
Who's in charge of that one? The last one, do we know?
GGG is doing it.
They're doing it?
Running a
the
game?
last one in GGG qualifier. I mean, they'll be working with the community to get it done, I'm sure. But but yeah, it's.
I think they're just gonna put it on someone to just do it. They're gonna be like, "Oh no, we don't have time. You guys do it instead."
It's gonna be the new announcement. They're gonna be 1 second logout timer. There's gonna be spectator mode. Just wait. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be their racing announcement.
I think at least I'll be organizing the exhibition of the race to viewers. So, but as far as like any sort of other organization, still being finalized, I think, at this point.
I really wish they would Descent, dude. It's so fun to watch. It's like by far the best race.
Yeah, but nobody understands Descent anymore. It's been too long.
You have like a Descent final after all these other random races.
That would have been crazy. I don't think they'll do that, but it'd be
it's like
crazy.
No one has any idea what's going on.
What
People like looking at VODs from 4 years ago, trying to figure out what chests are what.
Yeah. No, I agree with what Sai said. It would be a way too big advantage to people who raced before, because you can't practice those at all.
Nope.
They were so
fun.
What
if we could, though? What if we got private races following up from the private leagues? And had Descent and Descent Champions and Endless Lead, and Headhunter Race, and all these other fun events that we could just put on whenever.
Much. Can I be real here for a second with the advantage thing? Because it's like there was a community that was starting to race for 80, 85, And then this race, like the whole lead up into Exilecon, with a very racing event there, just kind of happened to be that, and not the old style of racing. So the people in that community got a chance. So there's always going to be someone who's going to be ahead because they're just by chance run a certain thing more than the other guy. So they're ahead now, you know? I mean, it's not...
There's a big difference between that and the fact that nobody can practice Descent. That's a very big difference.
Right. Oh, and the lead up to the actual event. That is true. That is true. So they would have to, for it to do that, they would have to have like an open server where everyone could start practicing it.
Yeah,
as a leader,
and that would be fun.
Would be cool. Woo-hoo!
That would be so good, dude. For those of you who are listening and don't know what Descent is, there were two different. It was Descent Champions and Descent, and you would be going down sort of like a dungeon crawler, a bit similar to Diablo 1, where you're just like going down staircases and stuff. Into different zones, and you would get a chest or two chests in some areas, and there would be choices, and based on your choices you would get different gems, so and different orbs. So sometimes you would get, you know, a guaranteed alchemy from that chest, or guaranteed alterations from that chest, so, or a guaranteed quicksilver. Like there were like lots of different choices that you could make. One area had a guaranteed ruby ring, one had a guaranteed topaz, there were guaranteed mirrors, guaranteed exalted orbs. It was super cool. It was by far the most fun racing that I've ever done. I don't know, maybe I can bring up a VOD here.
If you find an old VOD, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
There was also like uniques that were only available in the event. Like none of this got taken back to the core game, but there were uniques that were made for Descent. So like you would, at the start of Descent Champions, that version, you'd like get to pick one unique. So you could like pick a bow that had projectiles returned to you, and you get to like start off with your build with that sort of thing. It was actually quite cool. This one's regular Descent here, which was came a fair bit before Descent Champions and was much more basic. This was kind of like after the idea of Endless Ledge. It was just like, what if we had a bunch of zones connected? Just like these ones would be handmade as compared to kind of like pseudo-random like Endless Ledge, but then they would be the chess decisions, and it would just get increasingly more difficult. Yeah.
So here we see like you get every class got a starting chest, and in the Descent Champions there were a starting chest and then two unique chests, like you just said. And in both there would be like there would be, I think in this one, there's two chests at the end, right? Every zone?
Yeah, and
yes,
there was,
you had to pick.
The other thing was there was like certain, so in Champions, there was certain like routes that you could take. So sometimes you would go through like a full zone, and other times you'd go through like a little challenge zone that would have maybe like less items or less opportunities for XPing, but it would be a bit of a shortcut or something, or would have some other specific item like move speed boots.
Yeah.
And then there was at the end of every zone, or there was like major bosses in Descent Champions you'd have to get past. There's all big hurdles, and then in regular Descent here, there's like a unique monster at the end of every zone as well that you could try and kill, usually near the chest. It's pretty cool. Oh man, talking about it makes me want it back again.
Oh, I want it back so bad. I didn't realize how much. It's so fun. By far the most fun. And you would be like, the stats kept changing, and suddenly we started doing like so underleveled. And there were two different types as well. There were like for example Misters of Flame Kill, which is what we're watching now, and there the end goal was to kill the end boss. But there were some where it was XP based. I didn't like those that much because you could literally full clear every zone, and you could get unlucky and you just didn't get enough blue packs, so somebody else would get higher level than you. I didn't like those.
That was also okay. So that was also the way you would win these races, because getting blue packs would mean that you could go to the next zone faster, and if you started getting under-leveled, it would spiral out of control real fast. It was like in the beginning. I think they fixed that though, right? They tinkered with the XP so that it wasn't as much of a problem later on, I think.
I don't think it was as much of a problem in Descent. In Descent Champions, where you had to like start full clearing zones at a certain point, like couple zones in, that's where
Yeah.
Right.
a lot of it was determined by
Right.
mob density.
Oh, right. That was that was the Misters of Kill, wasn't it? Wasn't that
Yeah.
where you had to yeah, that's the one where it's like you could end up in the last zone and just have the boss left. And if you messed it up, you'd be like, shit, there's no more XP to gain.
Yeah.
That's true.
And these ones, I don't remember people farming as much. You just needed to get fire resistance, get some lightning resistance, try and make it through the last zone. But the last like 3 zones or so, I think people were primarily running, not really being able to level as much.
Yeah.
But obviously the meta's changed up a lot.
And in the Gravicious kill one of the problem was that you could guarantee a ruby or a topaz, but you need both. So it's like so
You got a
screwed.
mirror as well.
Yes.
So you would always have it.
Yeah.
You would just mirror one of them.
Yeah, but you still need to drop a natural either topaz or ruby.
Didn't you get a ring drop?
Yes, you get one guaranteed, but you need both. You need one ruby and a topaz. Because in the arc zone, if you don't have a topaz ring, the archers one-shot you. And for the end boss, if you don't have a ruby ring, the boss one-shots you.
Gravicious, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was like something I would have preferred that was changed as well. That you
I guess
like...
it depends on what build you're playing. Because like, if you're playing a ranger, you could just off-screen him and not have high fire risk.
That's true.
So you just needed lightning. That's great.
And
there was honestly a lot of refinement to be done to all of these unique race formats. They didn't get enough time existing and being played for them to really get that level of refinement that they could have used. But I think with that, they really could have become something special. And honestly, it is like such a real shame that we don't have these like, I mean, these are alternate gameplay scenarios, like completely separate to the regular campaign and everything, like completely different ways of playing Path of Exile, and that's really exciting. It's like other game modes, but they just don't exist now. Ultimately, because if you guys haven't followed for a while, racing got this sort of racing got canned because of retention issues. With the core league, people would play races. When the race season came up, there was a lot of races running at that time. People would play the races, then they would kind of, when they were done with that, they wouldn't go back to playing the regular. It's like their flow of playing the regular league got interrupted. So GG had really hard data on this, and ultimately people stopped playing, and there was no real way to like monetize these. But I mean, now we do though. If this is done through private events that players can pay for and organize. I
even think like a normal, like if they say we had like a time trial device, and like right now we did another, like an old school race season that everybody could join, but we also had spectating tools with the current shoutcasting and thing. I think that would be huge right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's true as well. Like, we did not have the community support that we have now. It's funny. It's like, you know, years after racing stops, we start getting the community support for racing in terms of like casting it and the tools to be able to do that, you know, pretty well and everything. And then also Exilecon with like a race grand final, but you know, years after racing was kind of like in the core game.
Yeah.
It was before its time, I reckon. That's what I'm saying. That's my argument. Racing was before its time, and there's room maybe for it to come back.
Yeah, maybe.
It's popping off.
I hope so. See if I can find a Descent Champions clip as well, just to show how different the start is and the uniques. Yeah, here's one.
You're on the wrong.
I am on the wrong scene.
nice podcast, bro.
Just playing some games in the background. Don't worry about it.
I'm grinding, dude. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. So here it's like the same, like oops. It's like the same starter chest where you just get like a bunch of gems in the start.
Uniques.
Oh, uniques are so fun.
Yeah,
That's
but
so good.
here you have 2 different chests. And there's loads of different uniques. The most common one to pick up was Blood of Summer, because obviously it gives you movement speed per frenzy charge. So you got 12% movement speed while dual wielding them. And these are all uniques that only existed in this race, and there were different uniques for every class. And this wasn't just about getting global first. This was about getting first duelist, first scion. So they were all good uniques for different things.
Yeah,
it's
I did
very
a lot of
interesting. Because people nowadays look at these items and they're kind of like, oh, they're not that big of a deal. But back then, with AoE scaling being very different, 20% on each weapon, like this would literally more than double your AoE on certain abilities. So it was super effective.
People were even like running just this all the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
not even swapping them at any point.
Especially in the caster classes, there was a wand that you would be using for like a vast majority of the race. Or sometimes you would even pick up the swords, and only every now and then would you find a weapon that would be good enough to actually switch out to something else. Or unless you were doing
fake offhand as well, because this was before the dual wheel changes. So you would normally always keep one blood of the summer. And there's like, there wasn't just 2 zones in this. Sometimes there would be a side zone. Like there's a, see if we can find it here. But there's the 3rd or 4th zone has, is it like guaranteed quicksilver and movement speed boots or something?
That was the ice zone you were just in. The zone itself had a lot of slowing stuff, and you had to make it through the gauntlet. Then you could get the quicksilver.
Freezing chamber, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here you get a quicksilver and the avian slippers, which are boots. Wait, they have implicit movement speed, right? Yeah. So it's like it's like pre-synthesis. It's like a synthesized boot.
Whoa.
Didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Or you didn't roll them for movement speed?
I try.
Yeah, I'll roll that. Come on, man.
Yeah. Alking it? God
What are you
damn.
doing, Ziz, from 5 years ago?
Hey, I was winning these.
Mistake.
It was definitely a different level of gameplay for everyone back then. Racing and PoE gameplay has progressed quite a bit. We were all such nubs then. It was great.
Yeah, and there were like bosses, and the bosses would give you skill points as well, which was really cool. And there were 4 bosses, and they would all give 1 skill point.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Did
I
we
want
get 2? I think they gave
I
2.
think there's 2, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. Really?
Oh, this guy. He was fun sometimes. Randomly one
Yeah,
shot.
you had to position around this boss a lot. You could pull him into a corner.
Yeah.
There's a lot
And
of
Vigilance
tactical
Strike
play
was so
there.
big.
There you go. Yeah, you're just cheating with that Vigilance Strike.
Yeah, too. And yeah, it was such a cool game mode as well, because you get a guaranteed Mirror of Thunder, like we talked about earlier, which is like crazy good for getting a second ring. Like that's what you normally use it on. And then it was super fun because there would always be somebody in chat that had like never seen this before, and they're like, "Did you just mirror a ruby ring?" It was so great every time.
You would do it like all the time. Unfortunately, this was, I think, for a lot of classes, the stage where, you had to just farm it up as much as possible, because this was an XP race.
Yeah.
But the bosses gave a lot of XP, including the final one, so you're kind of playing around trying to get as much XP as possible. But with the Descent, the Mistress kill was a actual boss kill, so I think that format's worked out a little bit better.
This is actually a Gravishi's kill.
Yeah, this is a Gravicious, yeah. Wait, an actual Gravicious
Yeah.
kill?
Yeah, this is just a kill one. So you see later on that I'm like super under leveled, and I think I'm mostly just jumping through things. Maybe
I didn't even remember that was a thing.
Yeah. I think
That's much better.
if I remember right, I think in the end this is you and me. I think you entered Gravicious Rise before I did here, but you died to him.
I died to Gravicious? Classic Rise.
Pretty sure.
You suck, Rise, from 5 years ago. Way to lose, loser.
You know, I never really enjoyed these too much. For whatever reason, I never had like a firm grip on it. It's just that I played Shadow, so it was kind of easy to win a lot of the times. Eventually, the duelists started catching up, and people like Ziz
What
were
about the
beating others.
Rangers back then?
Look at that ring.
You were
Let's
the only
mirror it.
Ranger.
No. No,
Nobody
playing
liked
in
Rangers.
these events, especially, Rangers are actually insane. This is like the thing that Rangers would win very consistently.
Yeah,
in the end.
Maybe they
Back
could
in the
have.
day, I even
I
did
don't
some of
remember
these.
any Rangers winning. I don't know.
I don't remember Rangers winning these either.
What? I won like 5 of them or something.
Huh.
5. That's
I played a
But
few
I
Ranger
didn't
games
even
too, they
like.
did
I
pretty well.
didn't always stick around for that long. It's just, and I remember there was like a few other Rangers who came up.
You know, me and Ziz probably just went online. I mean,
Toxic.
Okay.
you got it, Ziz. First two
One of the
intakes.
biggest problems with these races was though that you ultimately couldn't practice for them. So it meant like if you were playing every single one of these, you eventually started to like learn the chess and the route and
Yeah.
everything like that.
Yeah.
But if you were only able to play like one every other day or something like that, or occasionally when they're on, you couldn't practice for it. So it made it a bit harder to engage with.
Yeah.
But if it was a private league that we could make whenever we wanted for a small fee, then you could practice for it as much as you want. And streamers could host them, and you could get in streamers ones and do them as a practice run, and then do events. Ooh.
It would be so fun. I was really lucky because Dendoom actually started, Dendoom and Lifespring guys started coaching me on these because I was fairly new to streaming and stuff. So they were like coaching me and telling me what all the tests did and like what layout I should do. So that helped a lot.
Look, Noogie died. In the VOD, Noogie died. You can see the name.
Oh no!
I love you, Rice.
Yeah, Noogie.
It's been a long-standing relationship.
Was that you actually?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, you
It was
see,
so rough.
I don't even deny it. That could definitely have been a name.
Yeah, there you go. I got coached by Crame because I actually wasn't too familiar with these either. I got into racing oddly enough, relatively
Is he not coming
late.
back? Crane?
He's
Or
on and
not?
off, you know.
Oh, okay. I just
He
heard
gets
that he was
gets
like,
in the mood, and then 2 days later
Ah.
he's like, I don't know.
yeah.
Then he plays some Team Fortress, then he plays Overwatch, then he's like, I don't like games, and he disappears for 6 months.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's the Crame rotation, the Crame cycle.
Oh, I miss them so bad now. I need them back. Chris, please. Oh.
I do wonder if these would have actually worked out. I don't know. In a way, I want private races. In a way, I kind of fear that GGG would have like some weird approach, or would like dilute the whole experience of racing. Like too much available would just make people disinterested and kind of take it for granted, like we did in the first place. Because we kind of took races for granted, and once they took them away, we were like, no, wait, we like
Yes.
this.
Well, I mean,
so,
they did build the like they gave us this whole thing with the what else could you assume that they would keep running them with the way that it was going? I mean, it was kind of like just kind of faded out.
Right.
Yeah, it just kind of stopped all of a sudden, didn't it?
Yeah.
well, like the thing is, I think it was still relatively popular. It's just the game has shifted in terms of how it was being developed, right? Because there wasn't a whole lot going on with Path of Exile for a long time. I mean, even the pre-league stuff was a long time. Even open beta was like 8 months or something, and then Nemesis was like 6 months, and in general leagues were like like Onslaught, Nemesis, they were like about 6 months back then. So a really long time, and just not a whole lot going on in game in general. So racing kind of fitted in that. But since there's so much content now in these other places,
yeah, the dev cycle now is actually insane. Like,
Yeah.
there's not. I don't think there's any other game that does as much like content every 3 months as Path of Exile puts out. So
And I think-
it would be pretty difficult for them to maintain like race seasons like they were doing. But I mean, if they don't have to do that,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of some of the problems was obviously it was a lot of trial and error and finding when to do races. I remember, I think it was in Dark Shrine League, the racing season started a week or two. Like I remember the 100 race wasn't even over yet, and the race was starting, and I was like, what's happening? Like, what am I supposed to race? Which race am I doing? The 100 race or the short races? And like,
yeah.
that was really bad in my opinion. So I think right now with the way we have things, there is like a great spot for, events,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
we
for
have
races.
the third
Yeah,
month.
an
We
event,
can either
yeah.
do races, we can do race seasons, or we can do like a mayhem or something like that event. Like we have a perfect schedule for that now, where there is definitely room in the third month. So it's just like a little GGD support will go a long way. Like what they did for the Zero race, this was great. And it was so good because it was open to everybody. Everybody could join, and lots of people did.
Mm-hmm.
So
I really wouldn't want the return of race seasons.
Really?
honestly.
No, me neither. Honestly,
In the way they
I don't
were
think it's a
back
good
then.
idea. Like, it would be a lot of work for GG first, and second, I think we had a problem then with oversaturation, both of the races and of just Path of Exile. Like you said, the same problem. People like losing interest in the league or too much races. People were like, the season format and the points format meant that people really, in order to compete in that, you had to do as many races as possible, and they were at all times of the day, and it was too much. It was way too much, and people stopped engaging in it for that reason, and stopped engaging in PoE if they went full-time races, basically because you had to if you wanted to compete in that. So it's definitely too much, but there's a place for racing. Absolutely.
Well, the thing is, like, even other games don't just like randomly run tournaments, right? If it's going to be a series, especially if it's encouraged by the developer, it's like funky Saturday. Let's all race on Saturday, right? And then people kind of build their schedule around it. And one of GGG's biggest complaints about this was that people would do a race and then they would just quit the game entirely. But here, since it's like an ongoing thing, it's just one day out of the week, and it doesn't really bother people nearly as much. You can compete if you want to. If not, there's always next week. Running something like that for a league would be pretty cool, since the 100 races are already done, so everybody can compete. I don't really see an issue. So as much as seasons would suck in the way that they were done previously, especially since there wasn't any exposure given to them, it was like race season starts, and sometimes they wouldn't even announce that the race season is over or anything. They would never ever talk about it. This would be like, hey, every Saturday there's an event. You gather up points if you do well in it, and by the end of it, we've got like some sort of thing, or maybe halfway through a season we have some sort of thing, and you guys can compete in that as well if you manage to qualify. It's not a lot of time, but I think a lot more interesting for people, and always something to look forward to. Because like even as a streamer, right, scheduling is like key. People knowing what you're doing and when you're doing it. That consistency matters a lot.
Yeah, it does. One thing I would love to see, because like the thing is, one of the things when we look at these old clips and these old races, like we really like the alternate format. So the thing, I think, if I had like a dream of anything ever happening, something like Mario Maker but for PoE, to like create like, so the community created race events that could then be hosted for maybe a sum. Right? Could be really cool. Because like, I mean, we have the layout stuff for the hideouts. So I mean, you could put in the layout stuff for a race.
That would be really cool.
Then you would have all these sorts of races. Like, oh, that looks cool. Let's build like an event around the weekend on that.
That would be really cool. I would love that, because there, and a few more tools as well. But like, there's some events like I would love a race with, like a delve race, like an endless delve, sort of like endless ledge. And then you just go like further and further. You could even like maybe make a weird version with like Cutthroat, where suddenly you see another cart and it's like, oh, there's Raiz, zap. Then you get his cart with all this stuff. Like there's so many like cool events. And something I always wanted would be like a decay event, like the last 1% or the last 5% keep getting killed off until there's only one player left. So you just have to be ahead of everybody else. And like something we have in the game that we could use for that would be the synthesis thing. So you would just slowly see that, like, depending on how fast other players are, that would just be like eating you. So if you're the slowest player, you die. You just get killed.
Yeah. Wonder how you do that with zones.
Yeah.
That would actually be really cool.
I like the idea of a last man standing sort of deal though.
Yeah.
In a race format.
There's like so many things I want. But I do think even if DDD doesn't start supporting it more, and even if they don't like help out a lot, we can already see in like World of Warcraft that there's a shit ton you can do as a community. Because Blizzard doesn't seem to care much about the race to world first at all, to the point where like NA and EU still like NA starts 12 hours ahead of EU, which is like insane for a competitive thing, right?
Still?
Yeah, like that's crazy. And look how much like exposure it's getting. Like Method has been getting like 50 to 100,000 concurrent viewers on their channel and streaming it, so it's clearly a big deal and people enjoy watching it, even though there's not something like Blizzards are actively involved in.
Well, like the thing is, there's also nothing going on in WoW, right? Like if you were to compare it, they just kind of release the content, they get that one patch out, but it's not really content that a whole lot of people can like engage with. Whenever PoE releases something, it's kind of for everybody, and it's clearly like timed, right? That people are looking to do something like that. So I think all the stuff that you guys are talking about will be very, very cool. And I can totally see it happening if they eventually just kind of sit down and stop releasing as much stuff, which I think is going to be around the time after 4.0. They're just going to like finally release all of this stuff, and they're going to be like, oh, okay, well, now we actually have to start optimizing leagues, right? Like, are we keeping this? Are we removing it? Doing something like synthesis is pretty scary. I mean, a whole lot of development time went into it. Nothing of it is in the game. And,
but it probably will be.
Probably?
Because there were several of the unique items that got rebalanced and didn't go legacy. Or no, it went legacy, and the only reason for them to like do that is if they're gonna make them drop again in the future.
No,
like,
I can see. Like, I can obviously. I mean, it's a. When I say like nothing of it, right? Like obviously they understood a lot. They can take the system and kind of improve it and do something better with it, accomplishing the same thing.
Yeah.
That sort of mentality. But like in terms of actual, is physical in-game stuff. I mean, there's not a whole lot. If you were to be told, hey, here's a new league, the only new thing is 12 unique items and some balance changes, people probably wouldn't be too happy about that. And that's kind of like the legacy of synthesis, unfortunately.
Yep, that is true. I do wonder if I hope we will see it again. That was a league that I liked a lot. I'm currently like, I don't like Legion at all anymore. I think it's very similar to Incursion for me. I think Incursion was my favorite league ever for 2 weeks, and then I hated it. And it's sort of similar with Legion. Like both the leagues, they just don't have any depth to them. Like the Legions and the amount of currency drops you get is really cool. And I think it's going to be a lot of people, if you play like sub 200 hours or sub 400 hours of a league, it's going to be their favorite league. A really, really good league. If you play above 500 hours or especially above 700 hours, you're going to hate the league probably.
Bold statement.
I don't know if you're going to hate the league, because I don't hate I think the Legions, like all the time I played, it was like just super nice. I think it's hard to find extension goals.
Yeah, there's not much
PoE
depth
after a point. So it's like it just kind of like racing. It just kind of fades out.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
I don't hate, because I'm in a position right now where I'm actually really keen to play more PoE, but I just don't know why. It's this weird thing where like I have an urge to play, but there's just something something missing.
Holding you back
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same thing. For me, I've pinpointed it, I think, and it's mostly about like trading and all of that stuff. That's why I've been really enjoyed Ziggy's League, because it's a fresh start, super enjoyable. But yeah, it mostly boils down to that. I definitely don't hate Legion. It's there. It's like cool. Yeah. It was really entertaining at first, but yeah. I still haven't done a 5-way or any emblem. Okay.
You haven't done any emblem yet?
No, and I refuse to do it. All right.
Wow. Why?
Yeah, why?
He's protesting.
I need to know.
I'm just protesting at this point. Yeah, it's like it's just.
What are you protesting?
He's doing a sit-in against Headhunter.
There you go. Ziggy understands.
Hunger strike.
Okay, I can get behind that.
I'm hunger striking.
Can I join?
It's too late. You've already done it. This is only for pure, no emblem.
I haven't done a 5-way yet. I haven't done 5-way.
Gatekeeping.
I can.
You haven't done 5-way?
Right. I haven't even unlocked the thing yet.
Really?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then there you go.
I mean.
Wow.
Yeah. Is that the gatekeep? That's the gatekeep for whether you can be a part of this strike. Is whether you've unlocked the 5-slot map device or not.
There you go.
Yeah. But still, like, I mean, it has been a fairly successful league. Like, really, a lot of people like the league, and it's been, I think, a really good league to get people into the game. I also at the same time wish there was something like a synthesis mechanic that you didn't necessarily need to engage with. But if you're like, okay, I've done everything now, what am I gonna do? Oh, there's this advanced mechanic I want to play with. Obviously, it's hard to make. Like, they only have so much time, right? So.
Well, like Legion in a way. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Legion is very, very good at what it does, but is definitely not a deep league. I think synthesis was a good idea. There was just numerous serious execution issues with it, and kind of like also like reward structure issues. I think that really failed synthesis too for a lot of players. if we're being honest, I think
In what
Legion's
way?
going to be a highly popular league for like 90% of players.
Mhm.
And
think
it
so.
has had a major impact on the amount of resources the average player can get. We're talking about like being able to do tier 2, tier 7 farms and just rake in 400 or 500 cows an hour. Even like 300 cows an hour is a big step up from players that last league were doing the Chaos Vendor recipe to make like 50 cows an hour.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a step up for a lot of players. So that's kind of getting a lot of these people into engaging in things like crafting and stuff that they haven't done so. And I've seen a lot of more people getting into that sort of stuff.
Do you think that actually works for those people? I feel like the people who have that sort of approach kind of feel like they're getting more than ever, but also the stuff that they're getting is worth less than ever because of like the whole headhunter idea, right?
Yeah.
Like unless you actually get there, nothing you have is worth anything. So what I'm proposing is to get the synthesis crafting so they can spend the money that they've got because they're not getting a headhunter anyway. Imagine if synthesis crafting would have been in this league. At least you would have a possibility to do something interesting and fun with your money.
Yeah. I feel like the biggest gripe with synthesis was the fact that the mechanic wasn't self-explanatory and you had to like alt tab and use a third-party tool to try to math out what you had the biggest chance of hitting. And if you like didn't know what you were doing, you were just never gonna get anything. It was like, oh, have fun with your 3 reflect damage implicit.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's a perfect like microcosm of it being a very good idea but very poorly executed, because I think that crafting idea was a fantastic idea, but it was so all or nothing and so bad in the early stages as well, where most people engage with it. So a lot of people would like craft some stuff while leveling early end game and just never do it again because you can't even see any potential at that point at all. Not even anything close.
I think another issue with it was it's kind of like the fossil issue with it taking up so much space, and it took even up more. Because how are you gonna hold all the? Let's say that you're just playing the league, right? And you're thinking, oh, I wanna synthesize something later. You need to pick up all the synthesized items. You pick up these 2x4s that you need to fit in your quad tabs. So you just sit there with like.
I had 11 quad tabs.
Yes.
Not a problem for GGG.
Yeah.
I was always the person only rocking like 16 tabs and 2 quad tabs. I bought like 6 quads and a whole lot more.
I'm gonna need them later on. All these items.
Yeah. I mean, it was really useful to keep nearly everything in that link, because if you got a bad base but with high rolls, like like a Solaris circlet but with tier 1 ES, you could put like 2 Solaris and 1 Hubris with a bad roll. Maybe you get lucky, like the 30% chance, or no, 8? I don't know, but yeah, like most people don't want to deal with that. So I feel like if you had like both things in a league, something for casuals and something with depth, then you'd have like, oof, that's the spot.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of good stuff in that league. For sure.
Yeah. We can talk a little bit more about ZIGGYD's League as well, actually, as one of the topics, because I am not really familiar with it, because I haven't played it. Tell us a little bit more about the premise of your league, Ziggy.
Yeah, honestly, it's been pretty relevant to a lot of the topics we've been talking about recently. It's so my idea was birthed initially by day 1 of Legion League when the PoE trade API was down, and I had a bunch of currency. My character needed upgrades. It didn't look like the API was coming up anytime soon. So what did I do? I pressed enter and I typed /trade, and I went into trade chat. I sat in there for a minute. I'm like, oh, I got like all these chaos orbs. I got like an exalt here. Let's see what I can get. And I had, a bunch of potential things I could have upgraded my character, but I didn't really know what I'd get. I couldn't just go to PoE trade and like type in the exact item. I'm going to be like, oh, my first upgrade is going to be this item. So I'll just type it in and get the exact thing. So I sat in trade chat. I saw a few items. I saw Lion Eyes Roar. I saw Belly the Beast. I saw a Carcass Jack. Saw these different items scroll by, and I thought, I had to make a decision. Ended up getting a Belly the Beast as my first upgrade early in the league, really cheap. Ultimately, it ended up being, and had a little bit of a back and forth interaction with the guy. And you know what? I was like, that was actually kind of fun. So that planted the seed of the idea in my mind, and I was like, okay, I kind of want to do something with this idea in the future. So the ZIGGYD League was
my social experiment to get a bunch of people together and force them to do social trading. So trade API-based trading methods were banned. So no PoE trade, no official trade site. And I also wanted to pair that with the Craftsman's mod, which makes all the items drop as white or unique, no blues or no rares. And with Legion being so gifting in terms of raw currency drops, like I said, you can get 400 cows in raw currency drops per hour just farming Legion stuff. I was like, this is as close as we could get to being able to activate like a mod where currency drop rates are boosted and then you have to craft all your gear. So ultimately the idea of the league was to have like a league where all the rare items, all the cool items that you see, all the really good rares are crafted by players, and then people have to engage in this social trading and bartering amongst each other. So it's I thought we'd get like 300-400 people because I'm like, oh, no one's gonna want to do this. We'll get like 300-400 people. We ended up getting 2,000 people capping out. People are still asking me to join, but we've reached the hard cap and it can't be expanded. So I told Chris the other day on Skype, I was like, Chris, I tricked 2,000 people into trading in trade chat, and it's been great. He's like, I love that, because he's a pretty big fan of that idea, I think, based on his kind of like history with trading in action RPGs. But it's had some now, I think the thing to be clear about is I don't think this is necessarily the way Path of Exile should be. I don't think this is necessarily better for the vast majority, or even me, than the current trading methods in Path of Exile. But it does have some interesting impacts in terms of how you value items, the feeling you associate with getting those items, how you like proceed through your upgrade trees, and expectations, I think, are a huge one. So with PoE trade, right, we have the expectation that we can get the exact specific item we want within like a few percentage error. So like even a rare, like, oh, I need these exact resists and this stat and this stat and this stat, and you can type that in, and what happens is you have the expectation that you can just go there and get that instantly. So what ends up happening is we've all been pretty frustrated with people not responding on PoE trade, right? Honestly, kind of a minor thing when you compare it to trading through trade chat. Like, that's a pretty minor frustration, but your expectation is that you can get it instantly, you can get the exact item. So when you get something that's a bit different because the first 5 people didn't respond, it's super frustrating. But in this scenario, your expectations are completely different because you don't have the expectation you'll get the specific item you want. You're more like, okay, here's a bunch of different things I could get, or I'll be keeping my eyes out for something that I could potentially use, and instead discovering something that I didn't expect would be an upgrade for my character. And that's been an interesting experience. Also, just the trading has been, I've actually had many social pleasing trade interactions, and I've actually done quite a bit of bartering as well, which is interesting. A lot of like items for items and trading unorthodox things. Values are crazy, like all over the place. Like an Exalter's like, I think capped out at like 60 chaos or something that I saw last. This was like 30 chaos for ages, which is way different to what Legion is. I don't know what it is now. It's probably like 200 chaos or something. But and like the valuation of items are different. There was a fierce bidding war for impulses between like 2-3 guys in trade chat over the course of multiple days. Everyone was picking up a chance in impulses, trying to get these guys in their impulses.
Really?
They were getting
really
fierce
cool
about it. And it was like a community celebration when they ended up getting their impulses. They like finally got someone a chance to win. It's like, oh, he's not in trade chat anymore asking for impulsor.
I would imagine
it's been entertaining.
I would imagine that you would have way less like whenever you ask someone about a trade, so tell me if I'm right or wrong, do you get more people actually responding?
Hell yeah.
Because everything is from the trade chat, right?
Yeah, so a couple things on that. I've never had someone not respond to a trade. Maybe like one person out of like dozens and dozens and dozens of trades I made. And everyone is open to negotiation.
Yes.
Because you're not going to be like, I mean, if someone makes a ridiculous offer, obviously be like, no. But generally, people are looking for stuff. Like I've always like, oh, I'd take anything from alts to alks to chaos. What have you got? Fossils, resonators. I need all these things. Like I'll take whatever. And
kitchen sink.
Yeah, just like whatever you got, like let's work it out. So I end up doing a lot of trades that's like, this guy's like, he has 6 exalt shards, 2 annuls, and like 5 resonators that I need, and a couple jagged fossils, and I'm like, oh sweet, these are all things that I need. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Nice.
With this like sick rare that I crafted. And you always I've always arrived at some deal with everyone. It's
That's
had a
really
fair bit
cool.
of forth. Because you don't want to you can't. I mean, you there may not be someone else who ends up looking for that item for like a day or two.
Yeah.
You can
I
also.
miss that a lot about PoE. I think that's really cool that you did that as well. I feel like early when I was very new to the game, I would, in a lot of trades that I found through PoE Trade or the forums, before PoE Trade existed, there was such a time in PoE. I would talk to a lot of them and I would like be like, oh cool, what are you buying this for? Like what build are you gonna use it for and what are you playing? And a lot of the time I'd be like, do you want to do a map together? And that's how I met a lot of my friends. That's how I met Garatha.
Nice.
And I was very new to the game, and Garatha wanted to buy like this. I had like a crazy belt that had life leech, mana leech, 60 life, and triple rest or something. It was like a level 30 belt or ring. I can't remember.
Probably
It must have been a
I
ring.
imagine.
Must have been a
Probably
ring.
a ring.
Yeah. Yes, it must have been a ring because you can't have leech belt. I was thinking worm small. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And he kept like offering me for it, but then after a while he was like, never mind, like I can't afford this, you should keep it because it's so expensive, even though it's like a level 30 ring. But yeah, we ended up playing together and he taught me loads about the game, and I ended up being one of those people that was like, is this any good? Is this worth anything? What about this Garatha? Which was probably really annoying, but like it was a great way to meet people, and I do miss that.
I wonder if Garatha sees this story the same way.
Probably
It's like,
not.
this fucking guy is bothering me all day. The beautiful time that I've met Zizaran.
Yeah. He killed me as well. He PK'd
Oh,
me.
nice.
Because I did ask him loads of questions and he gave me loads of tips. And after all, he was like, Ziz, here is a high map. It's a promenade map. And I was like, oh, cool, promenade. I've never been in a promenade before. And I'm running spectral throw. So I'm jogging up to the boss. I start spectral throwing. And the lightning thorn comes up. And my character vaporizes. And I'm like, I've died. And he's like, oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, that was an accident for sure. Come on.
Got him.
Oh.
I need this guy to quit.
Then I found a mirror on my reroll.
A lot more now.
Oh damn! I bet Garatha was real happy about that mirror drop.
Yes, I kept
Fuck, I'm
asking him.
trading.
It sold for like 32x. That was a lot.
Nice.
32. Wow.
Hmm.
Mirrors on hardcore have been like on softcore have been like 100 forever.
Yeah.
Even in Onslaught, I remember, because back then you could like cross-league currency trade and stuff.
Oh yeah.
100x.
Wait, could you cross trade literally trade or?
Yeah, in
you
the early days, people would trade from standard to challenge
Yeah.
leagues.
could... Eventually, it
Oh.
got banned, but you
Yeah.
could totally do it. It did have that whole notion. I remember the forum. I don't know if that forum still exists. That cross-league trade
Yeah, it
thing.
does.
But
Oh,
Yeah.
DTJSP?
it had like
No.
a whole no, just on the
Oh, there's like
viewing
a
forums.
There still is.
Yeah.
I used to.
D2JSP
Right.
was like, ooh, if you're even logged in on D2JSP, you're gonna get banned. Like it was
Yeah, like
The
the you can still do
No,
cross
right, you're right.
league
Like, the
trading.
official forums had one. That's true.
Well, you can.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do from Legion hardcore to Legion softcore and back and
Yes.
forth. You just
That's right.
like, and I've done that this league because after the auctions, I transferred like 40x from Legion to Legion hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed to do perma standard anymore, which is good.
yeah, it's much
Absolutely.
better.
This whole event though does make me wonder, and again, not because I'm thinking it would necessarily be better, does make me wonder how different PoE would be if we never had the API. So GGG got backed into a corner pretty early because they made this API for forum posting. Then the community made scrapers, which evolved into what we have now, the trade science. So that was like a natural progression born of the system that they created. So I do wonder what Path of Exile might have been like if we never ended up having the trade API, and what other, because obviously we wouldn't have just stuck with trade chat. Like ultimately long term for a large number of players, that's not practical. It works pretty well with 2,000 players in a private league. It actually works pretty well in that size, but for a full community, it's not practical. But
I think it
What
would
would
have
have
stayed
happened?
very small actually, so I think it would have been fine. I think part of PoE's growth is the accessibility and stuff. So I think if we didn't have the APIs,
Well,
I think it would have been a
let's
lot
say
less
that-
people.
maybe so, but let's say that accessibility would have developed in other ways. In what other ways would that have developed? Would it have been through making like a bazaar style system? Maybe just they made an in-game auction house instead. I don't know, to try and get that level of accessibility, or maybe the nature of rewards for crafting and drops might have been completely different, because we're all quite happy to say the auction house in Diablo 3 strongly impacted the reward structure of that game, and in many people's view for the negative, right? But no one will say that about Path of Exile. But ultimately, the accessibility of items through trade has had an impact, even if it's not like a direct one-to-one thing. It's like, oh, it's possible to get all of this stuff quite easily. That has an impact on how rewarding things can be.
Yeah.
Even if you don't necessarily intend for it to be so. So if that hadn't been the way it is now, how would that sort of stuff have changed? Maybe how would crafting be different? How would drops be different?
I mean, they did talk about it like a bizarre style thing that you mentioned, Ziggy, the shop. Like, they definitely mentioned that as a solution to things at some point. They were like, yeah, we're seriously considering this. Yeah. Like, I thought it's definitely going to happen, but then that was around the time when people were using acquisition and procurement. Which, yeah.
Because we were like, this is really painful and very external to the game, so we need a better solution. It ended up not going in that direction, and I don't think we will now go in that direction from where we are. Like, I don't really see that happening.
No.
I wonder if they regret it from like a financial point of view. Because like on one side, people are buying premium tabs now, but on the other side, people aren't hoarding nearly as much because you actually get to sell your like crappy items. But back then, you never really knew what was worth what, and everybody just had so much crap laying around that you had to buy more stash tabs.
You think so?
Evens out.
I don't think it could be the other way around as well, where it's like, well, you kind of have to have them to sell, and then you need more and more tabs to sell from.
The premium tabs? Yeah. I mean, it could be. That's why I'm wondering if it actually hurt them financially if they ran into that sort of issue of not really taking action, hurting them long term.
Like that, yeah.
Mm.
Good question.
Yeah, I do have right, and I feel like at some point they said they were like never gonna do an auction house. I do wonder if they were being like so hard stanced on it, because once you say you're never gonna do something, it's very hard to like ever change it for any reason.
There's honestly not that much difference between what we have in an auction house. Yeah. Ultimately, we ended up getting one just by a different name and with a few, like, it's like legally in court, you wouldn't end up being able to enforce that it was an auction house because there's a few technical legal differences, but it's otherwise basically the same.
I mean, we have an auction house, but with price fixing, so I'm sure everybody's really happy about that.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Honestly, as much as I like thought exercise about this, for me, that's mostly what it is, because I do actually really enjoy trading in PoE the way it is now, but I do see the flaws in it, and a lot of that arises from expectations, I think. Like, it's so frustrating when someone doesn't respond, or when nobody is willing to haggle ever. Yeah. Like, so rare to find someone who's willing to like have a bit of a discussion with you about this stuff. Yeah. So I do certainly miss that with the current system.
It does seem a lot worse on softcore though. Like, I leveled up a auction house character on softcore, and buying leveling gear was a nightmare. Like, I was like, and people from my stream kept offering me like, hey, Ziz, buy this of me instead, it's easier. And I was like, no, I want to try the full PoE trade experience on softcore. And I think I bought 6 items, and I was like, no, fuck this shit. This is horrible.
It is a lot worse than this thing.
I think it took me 18 messages or something to buy a tabula, whereas on hardcore, I messaged 2 or 3 people max. So it's completely insane, to the point where I've started joking about like, oh, you just like give everyone a shock collar, and if you don't reply to a trade,
Yes, I mean that's the thing about trading, right? It's all there's like no negative downside from not responding as a seller. Like it's all about like you can just pick and choose whatever you want, and there's never any repercussion. Like, you don't really waste any time.
And why would you like have a discussion with someone and haggle with someone
when you can just run a great place?
Stop doing your map when you can just wait for the next person to message you and pay the
price. My favorite thing that I think would be a huge problem solver would be that you could only list items for a week, and that after a week you have to relist them. Because right now when you're buying things, the number one thing you should look at is listed recently. Even on hardcore I do this. Like if somebody has listed something 9 days ago, that fucker's not going to sell you that item. Whereas if it's listed 3 hours ago, even if it's for an alchemy, he's probably going to sell it. So if you just had to relist everything once a week, it's going to make it harder, but would probably save enough time in just getting people to actually reply.
That'd be a real problematic thing to do. You'd have to make it very obvious that the item wasn't listed anymore in the trade tab, because otherwise you have an item sitting there, you think that it's up on trade, but it's not. It's just sitting in your premium tab. Yeah. So that'd be really problematic from a UI perspective. But I mean, it would help with some issues.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
add a border. If an item's priced, just add a border around it. Like
exactly. A color, a tint, a border, whatever. So you just hover over your currently listed items and see, are these still listed? And you just visually see, yeah, they are. I think you're right, Raiz. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. It is definitely not fun. And that should never be the part of the game that you're frustrated with. And yeah. It's frustrating. I don't understand these people either. Even if I'm doing Ubereld or in hardcore, I'll be like, sec.
Yeah. It's there is such a thing as good frustration in games. It's the sort of stuff that motivates you and makes things rewarding. So like, you know, some of the guys who got impulses were like super excited when they got the impulses because it was frustrating for them to try and get it. You know, that's a good frustration. And then there's bad frustration, which is just like tedious bullshit that doesn't have a reward, you know? Like people not responding.
I enjoy it a lot, you know? The SSF community is growing every day.
Yeah.
It's a good type of frustration for me.
I wonder how many people play SSF just only because they are fed up with trading.
A lot.
And not because they're like, oh, they enjoyed the additional challenge or something.
Yeah.
Just like me.
Yeah, like a lot. We like switch the topics around here, but I wouldn't mind talking more about Exilecon, because all of us here are going, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. That's awesome. And obviously at Exilecon they're unveiling 4.0. What are we gonna see? Like, what do you guys think? Any theories, Noogie, on what 4.0 is gonna bring?
4.0.
Nice call out.
God.
Noogie, tell us about 4.0.
All of a sudden.
I think they're gonna restructure the game quite a bit. I think they've taken a lot of the feedback that's currently been given to heart. I really do. I don't think it's like just been like so I think I could see that happening. So like, you know, the reward structure of things could be a big thing they would redo. And then probably a huge content block, obviously. What that could entail, I don't know. Because I mean, I feel like just extending the map is probably not what we're gonna see. So maybe like, I don't know, a new content block of something that they've concocted.
Yeah,
I could see that.
What about you?
I'm not even like trying to think about it. Honestly, they have two big brains. We're just small brain streamers. Like it's just terrifying.
Every time someone's like, Ziggy, what's your idea for a league? And I'm like, what? I have no ideas.
Yeah.
It's like that's why I'm thankful GGG's on that job, not me.
People ask me about like what unique item would you make? I'm like, dude, it's been 6 years. I still haven't come up with something good. Like, what are you talking about? What league I want?
Yeah.
There's like no way.
Ziggy, do you have any theories for what 4.0 could be?
Forgive me if I dance around some specific topics, but that I should not talk about. But I think
whoa,
he knows.
Look, anything I say, I don't know about. All right. So if I talk about something, it's because I don't know. So I think that I reckon Noogie's on the money, that it's going to be more than just a league or something. That we're going to see something pretty major in terms of restructure here or mega sweeping game changes. I get the feeling that this is going to be a lot more than just another challenge league, or even more than another major challenge league. Like, I don't think they're just going to add 5 acts. They've kind of already done that. I think it'll be something different, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that was ridiculous.
I agree, and that's the thing.
Different.
Gotta remember, when they added the 5 acts to the game, they didn't have like a convention or anything for that, right? So I feel like this is going to be bigger than that, and obviously the 5 acts were so huge.
Yeah.
That was like changing for the entire genre, right? Because normally you always have like the normal, nightmare, hell in so many games like this where you have to redo difficulties.
Yeah.
So that was huge. And now we're getting something bigger than that. So I don't know, like it's also meant to like rival Diablo 4 because they were expecting Diablo 4 to be out and they were like, okay, how do we beat that? 4.0 is how.
Yeah.
So I have some like I think that we're gonna have some crazy reactions when we all see it. I think it's gonna be like, what? And that it's gonna be maybe a whole new genre maybe of game? Like something that big,
That's
sort
like-
of?
Battle chess.
No, not like
Correct.
that. I just mean like it's gonna just be like crazy huge. Like the some things that could
Like
be
the
crazy.
Lab 2.0.
I love Lab actually.
PoE is getting
But
deleted and made into a
There-
mobile
there's
game.
those. Oh god, no. But like there could be a new engine, and something I think is fairly likely. A lot of people keep asking if I think there's going to be new classes or racers or something like that. But I think new ascendancies are fairly likely because that's a lot easier
Yeah.
to balance than a
Yeah,
base
yeah.
class.
That's true.
That would make more sense, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe one extra ascendancy for every class and an extra ascendancy for Scion that isn't just a jack of all trades. And I mean, I would personally love like raiding events, like something where you needed more than one person. I would love that for PoE. I know a lot of people don't though, so I doubt that would happen. I think that would be cool, but I don't see that
I
happening.
think, if anything, if we're going in this direction, it would be more. Well, I hate to say it, but like kind of PvP oriented, where like it would be guilds against guilds, like fight for
way.
resources,
No
exiles,
way.
stuff. Yeah, I think that could be like a major part of it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think you've
Like
done right.
EVP maybe. Like
Yeah,
where
but that's-
players
isn't that what
versus
he's
the
saying,
environment competitively.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you're not actually fighting the player. You're fighting the player on the board of,
Yeah,
the Atlas maybe. or
PV
something like that.
MVP. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
I
wonder
agree.
if
I
they
think
would
that
do
could help.
something like that, because like they would probably be really scared, but at the same time, GTG is kind of known for like, hey, here's this main content, but also here's a little bit of this like little bit extra. Don't even worry about it that much,
Mhm.
and it's like more content than any game releases in like 4 years.
Yeah.
So I can totally see them doing something like that, where
True.
you're actually like going against other exiles.
I mean,
and-
the battle royale was insane. Like that is PvP, and that's probably the single most fun I've ever had in Path of Exile. Was the battle royale? Like I've been playing for a very long time now, and nothing has come close to that. It is so fun.
It's been over a year, Ziz. We had the 1 year
Yeah.
anniversary. And
I
no
want
more
it
Battle
back.
Royale.
Yeah.
I think to the point of Rise, I mean, maybe we could see something as overhauling, if not even more, of the Atlas itself, because the game is pretty much tied into that. So I mean, that could be, something adding to that, making it even like bigger, more grand, more, the things you can do with it.
I mean, just like there's been needing a revamp of exiles for the longest time. Like imagine if you've got like PvP ticked and you're able to like get some sort of benefit from somebody else, and if somebody else has something ticked, right? And you're both running Glacier, you've got a 10% chance of somehow running into another dude.
and then the other dude is running like
Yeah,
Val
that
Ice
could be
Nova or
cool.
Val Spark, and you just get obliterated
Yeah, but
without
then
knowing
you
he's
have to
there.
opt into it, right? Like for sure. Like he'd have to enable it. Otherwise,
Wow.
yeah, it would be pretty.
The other guy is Tornado Shot Headhunter, and suddenly you insta rip because all you see is like
It's
loads
like
of
50
sparks.
stacks.
You're
It's like
like,
you only
"What?"
see his feet run past. Dude.
You like
Two
one
veins
and
off
he
his
just
Oh,
releases
God.
Ice Nova on like a Legion, and you're caught up in it.
Wait. In that scenario, another player could probably see. You could probably see their head, right? If you're high enough up, high enough, like,
Oh,
the top of the
yeah.
map. They're at the bottom of the map. You can see their head just like poking up the bottom of your screen.
Or if he's cycling,
Yeah,
you
I
just
mean-
die.
Yeah, it could be as like a
So
side
bad.
thing. It's like the only thing that realistically comes to mind, some sort of more like competitive aspects, maybe some sort of race against time. Maybe you have a % chance at like a certain depth of Delve that you're competing against somebody else to get to the end, and if you don't manage, then your card just like runs out of juice or something. That sort of stuff is where I could see a lot of fun coming from. But I don't know if it would be like a major part. But knowing Chris, they're probably looking into like trying to make it more PvP viable.
Yeah. They usually do for go for very ambitious stuff as well. Like look at Synthesis.
Yeah.
I would never have thought that up. That is such a cool system. And whether people like it or not necessarily, like they're very ambitious with what they go for. I think there is one thing that would be really ambitious and cool that would be like insane stability and optimization for 4.0. That would be so nice.
Stability optimization.
Oh,
it's like their presentation, the whole presentation for 4.0 is like a bunch of like engine charts and data points and stuff like that. And like, look how we've shaved off 2% here, and these polys have increased by this much. They just do this like super dry technical presentation.
That's interesting.
I would love it, dude. Like the amount of like things where I'm like, you know what? If I could like run this at 200 FPS, I would really be enjoying the game. But I'm running it at like 13 because it's like double or triple beyond. And think about how big for the game lockstep. The additional lockstep was huge.
Yeah.
So
I have been having a lot more freezing, stuttering sort of hang-ups of late. It's sad to say. It gets really frustrating at times. Like keep changing over to predictive to like try and help with it. I mean,
is that like
seems like it's either an Aussie server thing or an ISP thing, but it's not only that though, because like at the start of the league, I'm like cycloning around with my Impale character, and I'm thinking there's something going on here. I feel like it's like Impale calculations or something. I literally said that, and then weeks later, I was like looking back at one of the patches I released, and it's like, oh, fixed an issue with like Impale calculations causing stuttering. I'm like, oh shit, was right.
Yeah,
I think there's like maybe some more things like that going on. So there's multiple areas to be investigated there.
It's gonna be interesting for sure. It's also gonna be long flights for all of us to get there to see what it is. It's not gonna be fun, except for Ziggy.
1 day of traveling.
Yeah. How long is it for you, Ziggy? It's like 6 hours or something.
A couple hours. It's like a
couple hours.
Like 32 for
hours,
me. 28.
It's not very long though.
Yeah.
Ugh. I'm excited. I'm staying for like a very long time, like 15 days, 20 days.
Same.
Hefty.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah. Seems like a lot of us are going early.
Yeah.
Socializing. Yeah. Woo!
I'm staying late.
Ziz, we're all going early. You gotta be by yourself, mate.
I was gonna stay late too, but then Ziggy was like, "Why don't you just come early?" I'm like, wait, that's like way better." So
yeah, we're trying to figure that out. It's like what would be better.
The exact same thing when Raiz said it.
Yeah, one thing was like a lot of us are gonna want to go back and probably like make content and stream and talk about all of this stuff, and so it'd be good to be home after the event.
Yeah.
So go early when there's like nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
No videos to be made.
I'm planning to I'm setting up in New Zealand, and I'm just gonna have a gaming computer and stream and record from there.
Nice. Let's go to Quinn's house.
Yeah. He does skydiving. Kind of want to skydive with Quinn. That'd be cool.
Wow.
You want to skydive with Quinn?
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Like
Can you imagine?
He's a skydiving instructor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to jump with him.
Yes, exactly. That'd be so good content. Me and him like sparking out and screaming, and then the parachute doesn't open. It's like the best end to a stream. Thump.
Most viewed clip.
No, but like it would be really cool to dive together.
Quinn always jumps without a parachute. That's how he gets all those dents.
I mean, you do have the perfect outro for that. Don't die more than I do.
Yeah, and try to die less than I do.
Oh god.
Can't log out, IRL. That was all like the main topics we had. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about or bring up?
let's all be chill at Exilecon, everyone. Honestly, I'm a little bit nervous. So like when I go to
What?
PAX and
Really?
stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I'm honestly a bit nervous, but like I'm super excited, and I think it's probably going to be great. But when I go to PAX, there's like maximum 5 people who know me, and you know, I usually spend a fair bit of time with each person, hang out, like have a good chat and everything, and it's real chill, really enjoyable. I'm a little bit nervous that, you know,
Everyone's gonna know you.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, like let's just be chill, right? treat me like a normal person, please. Treat us all like normal people, because ultimately we're nerds who sit in our rooms by ourselves playing video games all day. A lot of us are pretty socially awkward in reality.
I have like this image right now of like Ziggy being mobbed out. He's just lying on the floor. He's like, "Sis, gone without me," and we're all like running away.
I kind of hate like the whole e-celebrity thing. So yeah, I much prefer when it feels like, you know, normal people interacting wherever possible. So yeah, let's just be chill and have a good time. Don't be afraid to say hello. Just have a chat. That's
it's gonna
that's
be a
my
lot
thing.
of people.
I don't know,
Tarky
like
had
I didn't even want to
good-
say anything, but because it's like, oh, Ziggy thinks he's super famous and he's not going to be able to move anywhere because he's going to get mobbed. But no, it's more just me. You know, it's just social awkwardness and stuff.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
the same
even if
thing
it's
with
not a
them.
lot. It can be like when we were at TwitchCon, Tarky had like a little bit of a panic attack. Like 2 people came up to him, it's like, "Hey, we know you," and Tarky's just like, froze up quite a bit. He was like, "Tarky, sit down, calm down, everything's gonna be okay." He was,
I
quite
actually
so.
heard a really cute story about RaizQT from Tarky Cat that Raiz got asked for his autograph and he didn't have one ready. Like he didn't have a practice one. And apparently he went back to his hotel for hours and practiced so he could give people a better autograph.
It was like 60 hours. All the hours of every
Woo.
day. That's all I ever did.
Damn.
Yeah.
But that was a pretty good podcast. Thank you all for joining me and Yugi here today on our podcast. And can we get some information on where to find more of you, RaizQT?
Yeah, check out my Twitch, twitch.tv RaizQT, like you can see it on stream. And it's pretty much everything all the same on all the platforms. YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff.
And ZIGGYD StarCraft, where can we find more of you?
You can find me over on the SC2 forums, the Protoss subforum, the Superior race. Fight me.
Nice, I agree.
I think nobody's gonna fight you on that one. Let's be honest.
Beat this death ball. No chance. I'm active on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. I'm ZIGGYD on all of them, but I mean various handles, but just search ZIGGYD and you'll find me, I'm sure.
And
Thanks.
Noogie?
Nugian on all the platforms.
Beautiful.
Mostly Twitch.
Mostly Twitch. Awesome. Hopefully you're watching this on my channel. If not, it's been stolen. Reported. Tell me instantly. I've been stolen away. A big easy clap in chat, please, for the audience. You've been beautiful. Thank you for joining us here today. So thank you. You guys are great. We're gonna be ending now. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.